Thank you. Good evening. Mr. Secretary Blinken, if I could start to follow up on some of your comments on the Middle East. You mentioned it's a decisive moment right now for the ceasefire talks. Today, Hamas has appointed Sinwar as their new political head. Somebody who masterminded the October 7th attacks, somebody who, by most accounts, is hiding in tunnels. How does this bode for ceasefire talks? You also mentioned the consensus about how Iran should or should not respond. You spoke with the Jordanian foreign minister today. Do you think Jordan and other countries in the region are on board in potentially repelling or striking down any Iranian projectiles that may come?
Thank you, Sean, and I know your colleagues appreciate you asking their questions for them as well. So on the questions addressed to me, first with regard to Mr. Sinwar, he has been and remains the primary decider when it comes to concluding a ceasefire. And so I think this only underscores the fact that it is really on him to decide whether to move forward with a ceasefire that manifestly will help so many Palestinians in desperate need, women, children, men, who are caught in the crossfire of Hamas's making in Gaza, whether we can put Gaza and the region more broadly onto a more peaceful and secure path. So it only emphasizes the fact that, as has been the case for some time, it really is on him. And as the President said today following his conversations with President al-Sisi and with Amir Tamim, this is the moment. This is the decisive moment. The negotiations have reached their final stage, and we believe strongly that they should come across the finish line very, very soon. And that, besides changing everything for people in Gaza, bringing the hostages home, giving us an opportunity to build a more enduring peace for Gaza, also opens up other possibilities, other prospects more broadly in terms of de-escalating tensions and bringing real security and stability. That's what we're focused on. And so when it comes to defending Israel, we are resolute. We'll remain resolute in making sure that we do everything possible to defend it against any attacks. I'm not going to speculate on how that might go forward. I can tell you that the intense focus that we have and that all our partners in the region have, including our Jordanian partners with whom I spoke today, that focus is on de-escalation, is on making sure that no one takes any steps that could actually add fuel to the fire and broaden the conflict. And they're also intensely focused on getting the ceasefire over the finish line.
For Secretary Austin, who was behind the attack at al-Assad yesterday? And do you believe an Iranian or Hezbollah attack against Israel is imminent? Secretary Blinken, why do you believe Prime Minister Netanyahu will heed your calls to de-escalate, given that for the past 9 months or so he's either ignored or gone directly against your requests, whether it's on civilian casualties or negotiations on the ceasefire? And more broadly, you mentioned the ceasefire talks are in their final stages. We've heard similar optimism before. Why, or do you believe that Israel has set back that effort, given that they allegedly killed the leader of the group that they're supposed to be negotiating with?
In terms of who was behind the attack on al-Assad, we're sure that it was an Iranian-backed Shia militia group. Specifically, which group we're still investigating to determine that. In terms of whether or not or when Iran would choose to attack Israel, I'm not going to speculate on any Iranian actions going forward. Idris, as you know, what I've been focused on is making sure that we're doing everything we can to put measures in place to protect our troops and also make sure that we're in a good position to aid in the defense of Israel if called upon to do that. So you've seen us do a number of things to strengthen our force posture, and again, I'm in constant communications with my commanders in the region and also with our allies as well. So We'll see how this evolves, but I won't speculate on any specific action by Iran or any other Iranian-backed group going forward.
And Idris, with regard to the Middle East, it is manifestly in the interests of everyone involved to avoid escalation, to avoid the conflict spreading. And I believe that actually no one wants escalation. No one wants to see the conflict spread. But it's very important that no one takes steps that could lead to that, even if it's unintended. And that's why we've been engaged in this intense effort across the region and beyond to press everyone involved, including Israel, to avoid anything that could actually escalate the conflict. And again, it comes down to the fact that that's not where people want to go. We want to make sure to the best of our ability that they don't go there, even inadvertently. When it comes to the ceasefire, let's understand where we are, how we got there, and why we believe this is something that should close, and should close very soon. Some weeks ago now, President Biden put before the world a proposal for the ceasefire, the release of hostages, a pathway to an enduring peace in Gaza. And the entire world rallied behind it. Country after country stood up in support of the proposal, culminated in a vote at the United Nations Security Council, 14-0, endorsing the proposal, indeed incorporating it into a resolution. We don't see the Security Council agreeing on much these days, but I think that reflects the fact that quite literally the entire world came out in support of it. And then it took some time, but Hamas, after a couple of weeks, agreed to support the proposal. So there's agreement on the framework. What we've been working on for the last few weeks are important details of how that is actually implemented. And there were some things that had to be negotiated in that process. That work has continued, even with the recent events in the region. And we believe, based on the work that's been done, based on the very practical issues that are at stake, that there is no reason that this should not be concluded, and concluded quickly. So this is really a time for all of the parties involved to close this out. No delays, no excuses, no reasons why we can't do something. Focus on getting to yes. The reason, among other things, that we very much want to avoid any escalation is because, yes, that has the potential to disrupt concluding the ceasefire agreement. So in and of itself, escalation would be a bad thing, but it also has the potential to upend bringing the ceasefire over the line and bring it to conclusion. Again, this ceasefire is profoundly in the interest of everyone. It's in the interest of Israelis. It's in the interest, of course, of the hostages, their families around the world, including in the United States. It's manifestly in the interests of the Palestinian children, women, and men who are suffering every day. It's in the interests of virtually every country in the region, because not only is what's happening in Gaza at stake, but many of these other points of conflict will also be profoundly affected by getting a ceasefire. It opens up the prospect of calming things down everywhere in the region. So that's our focus. We're doing everything we can both to avoid the escalation, bring the ceasefire agreement to conclusion, and we won't stop until we get there.
Our final question will go to Adam Creighton, the Australian.
Thank you very much for taking our questions. This one is for Secretary Austin. So recently, the influential media magnate Rupert Murdoch said that in his view, he did not think the US would come to the aid of Taiwan if China tried to encroach on the island. So what do you make of that sort of assessment? And if Mr. Murdoch was wrong, is it the expectation of the US that Australia would come to the assistance of the US militarily in any such confrontation?
Well, I certainly won't comment on Mr. Murdoch's analysis or his statement, and I won't speculate on whether or not there will be a conflict. As I've said a number of times, I don't think conflict with China is either imminent or inevitable. We continue to work with like-minded partners in the region to ensure that we're doing things to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific, And so the types of things that you've seen us do over the last 3.5 years, I think, have been quite remarkable. Above and beyond the things that we discussed today in this 2+2, which, I mean, there are substantial accomplishments that our two countries have accomplished together. But if you look at the things that we've done in terms of strengthening our relationship with India, developing, helping the Philippines to modernize their military, bringing Japan and the ROK closer together, and seen us do a recent ministerial in Japan with Japanese Minister of Defense and the Minister of Defense from ROK. That's the first time that's ever happened. And so there's just so many things like that we have done in the region to work with others to ensure that we do, in fact, move things towards greater stability and security and promote that vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. So again, I won't speculate on anyone's comments or whether or not there will be a conflict. I will just tell you that we'll continue to do to work with our allies and partners to make sure that we're moving things in the right direction, and that direction is towards greater stability and security.